My job at Ukrainian Tourism Board is difficult, but somebody has to do it. There are still forms to fill out, papers to stamp, and email to answer. Despite the war, government must go on. I think even if this building were to go up like a bomb, government would still go about its business. But at least we will have more heat.
This is BOESCHLIT. Good morning, I'm Kurt Balderdash, and this is BOESCHLIT, your bi-weekly business and technology podcast that's the irresistible force meeting the immovable object of public indifference. But first, here's what's sautéing our shiitakes today. Not long after opening numerous brick-and-mortar stores, Amazon announced it will be closing them. Amazon physical store operations reported lower sales in 2021 than in 2018. Perhaps people are getting on with their lives as they emerge from their mandated hibernation. The sun is free. Until Jeff Bezos buys it. The state of New York is considering universal health care service that would include everyone, regardless of what planet they're from. The anticipated price tag is so high that taxes would need to more than double, but only on those who currently pay taxes in New York. Sounds like a great deal for Martians. Many Western businesses, such as Apple, Nike, and Disney, have exited Russia since the country's invasion of Ukraine, citing humanitarian reasons. Apple has ceased certain operations and expressed their support of all of the people who are suffering from violence. Well, except those that live in far more lucrative markets like China. A BOESCHLIT tech note: the new catchphrase for censorship in the future will be platforms to eliminate misinformation. Meta, formerly Facebook, formerly a company that mattered, has released a cultural trends report for 2022. Among the brilliant insights of the report are 1. The things that divide us can also bring us together, which sounds a lot like spending more money makes things cheaper. 2. Brands can lead through making statements. History has shown that either people ignore such senseless blather, or it angers them, which leads to boycotts and drops in stock price. 3. Diversifying identities, which can lead to gender-neutral products. This is the biggest minefield of all, since some of the most extreme and vociferous consumers, if they actually consume anything at all, are those that have no belief in gender, yet at the same time believe in many kinds. To summarize the Facebook Meta report for cultural trends for 2022, it's time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
BOESCHLIT World Report.
There is a hot debate as to whether Ukraine should be admitted into the European Union, especially during the midst of a full-scale war. Peter Dongle reports.
To the casual observer, the possible admission of Ukraine to the European Union is a bit of a head-scratcher. It is certainly unclear what benefit the EU would have, or what Ukraine hopes to achieve by joining at this time. It's a bit like offering a long-term gym membership to someone in the ICU that's been intentionally run over by a bus. We discuss this debate and its possible business ramifications with EU Minister of Ministerial Affairs and current representative from Greece, Lemi Pisoniou. Minister, why would the EU go through this process during a war?
Well, the prevailing wisdom in Europe...
The what?
Wisdom. The prevailing wisdom is that Ukraine could certainly use the support of the EU member states at this time, and it could also be a signal to Russia of our determination to issue bold public statements.
But what benefit does the EU get out of admitting a country which could obviously be said to be presently a basket case?
We have many basket cases in the EU already. This is not unique. Our admission process is as much about sending positive messages as it is about actual inclusion of a country. This is a long process that involves years of bureaucratic work and public referenda. It is not something we do overnight.
So what is the benefit to Ukraine?
Once admitted, Ukraine could enjoy access to one of the largest free markets in the world. They could buy and sell their vast wheat crops, as well as their oil and gas to us. After they've paid their yearly dues to Brussels, installed their new ministers of European Parliament, with a private ceremony involving invocations, chants, and the requisite bacchanalia, they then must create the necessary new layer of bureaucracy intended to insulate the EU from the wants, needs, and desires of the Ukrainian people. Then they will be ready.
It sounds like the EU gets food and energy, and the Ukrainian people get more bureaucracy. It doesn't seem like much of a deal.
Bureaucracy runs the world. It is a good thing. It produces stability. Ukraine could certainly use more of that, yes?
But what good is opening up markets years in the future if Ukraine may cease to exist tomorrow?
Everything takes time. Even Rome took 100 years to build. Some things cannot be rushed. If we begin today, Ukraine could be admitted in as little as 3 or 4 years. Once the dust settles, those who remain can vote for EU membership.
So EU membership is like an insurance policy. You provide protection some time after they pay.
Something like that, yes.
But what about helping them today?
Help? We have already issued many bold statements and issued strong sanctions on their behalf. Any more than that, they'd have to be a full member.
What about NATO?
NATO? That's a different department. We don't deal with such matters. NATO deals with physical protection, not legal or economic protection. Trust me, it's better to deal in legal and economic protection. It's much safer for the EU.
As opposed to planes and tanks.
You're welcome.
Today's panel discussion examines the question of electric vehicles, the lack of infrastructure to charge them, the hours it takes to charge them, the high cost of EVs, and why are they being pushed so quickly, and some would say recklessly, on a world that simply doesn't have the energy capacity to support them. Today we have Dan Van Peebles of the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Hello.
Karen Philp of the Free Electron Society.
Hi.
And finally, Walter Ludd of People for a Slower Future.
Hello.
Panel, welcome.
Are you people crazy?
Fortune favors the bold. This is BOESCHLIT.
The most challenging job in the world may not be what you think it is. Try working for the Ukrainian Tourism Board. With BOESCHLIT Business News, I'm Anida Martini. War is always a dampener on tourism. The flights are late or don't arrive at all, the restaurants are all closed, and the nightlife is now deep underground inside bunkers. But that hasn't stopped Hey Now Knock It Off from promoting the Ukraine as a viable tourism destination. Just perhaps not at the moment.
My job at Ukrainian Tourism Board is difficult, but somebody has to do it. There are still forms to fill out, papers to stamp, and email to answer. Despite the war, government must go on. I think even if this building were to go up like a bomb, government would still go about its business. But at least we will have more heat.
How are the conditions there?
Not good. But not bad. About the same as when we had the locust swarm in 1907, or the plague a few hundred years ago. Could be worse.
What is your typical day like now?
I go into the office. Well, I look to see if there is an office. If it is there, I go into building and look for the mail. If there is mail, I run the other way because it is probably a bomb. I go into my office and I sit behind my desk, and I look out the missing wall where my window was. I am on the second floor, so I only have a view of the building next to me. Ha! That is interesting.
What do you see?
Well, whatever it is not a building. Looks like a bad Soviet-style jigsaw puzzle.
Is that weapons fire I hear?
No, it is fireworks. It is like Disneyland here, every day about this time. But no big mouse.
I assume you are actually working to keep things organized for when the war is over and people will once again visit Ukraine.
Yes. I put all of the brochures in one corner of office, and rail passes in other corner, and... Oh. I do not have an other corner now. I use pile of rubble for table. With vase of flowers and picture of my wife, it will look fine.
Aren't you afraid Russian soldiers will come through your door?
No, not with pile of rubble and picture of my wife in front of door. Oh boy, that should keep them away.
Is there anything you'd like to say to our audience?
Yes. Please consider Ukraine for your next holiday. The Russians will not be here forever. Heh. The Russians will not be here much longer at all. Heh. Heh 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 heh.
Really? Is there something you'd like to share with us?
And finally, this episode concludes Season 1 of This is BOESCHLIT. We hope you have enjoyed it, although we have absolutely no idea. During our off time, Peter is going to undergo a personality transplant, Anita goes back into rehab, and I try to pour an elephant into a shot glass. Join us again where all things are possible. The future. Ooh.